Welcome to Amsterdam, capital city of the Netherlands. What better way to experience this compact, very international city than from the unique perspective of its waterways? There certainly are a lot of them. This city has over 100 kilometers of canal. Amsterdam is known for being friendly, open-minded, and progressive. It's a popular place to visit and do business. Just think, in a population of only 800,000 people, you can meet 170 different nationalities.
This area's rich history adds a sparkle that's never far below the surface. During the 17th century, Amsterdam shone especially bright, like gold. This golden age was an extraordinary time. Politics, art, and business all reached new levels of sophistication. Dutch shipbuilders revolutionized sailing. Amsterdam boasted a thriving stock exchange, and painters like Rembrandt and Vermeer produced remarkable art.
Let's take a step back in time, a big step, to the 12th century. To our left, there was nothing but vast stretches of marshland, lakes, and sea. To our right, at the mouth of the Amstel River, was an early settlement of simple huts. Settlers built a dam across the river, hence the name Amsterdam, or the dam built across the Amstel.
Now, fast forward a few hundred years. Amsterdam has grown into a fortified medieval village, complete with dikes, ditches, and canals to control the sea level. Even this far back in time, it was an important trading hub. Ships sailed back and forth across the Baltic Sea carrying grain, cloth, wood, and salt. The original wall of Amsterdam would have been to our right. During the Middle Ages, a moat, now called a singel, encircled the city. The church you see, the St. Nicholas, was built centuries later. Named after the patron saint of seafarers, it stood overlooking the harbor. Also to our right is the 15th century Schreier's Tower. This outer defense tower got its name from the scare, or sharp corner, formed by the city walls that met here.
Look to the left. Nothing you see, including the land itself, was here during medieval times. Over the centuries, much of the land around us was wrestled from the sea. To reclaim this polder, or land that was once covered by lakes and seas, industrious Amsterdammers built dikes and used windmills and pumps to get rid of unwanted water. And they've done an amazing and ingenious job of it. When it comes to controlling sea levels, the Netherlands takes the lead worldwide.
There are no straight lines in Amsterdam's city center, but instead concentric canals lined and crisscrossed by streets, some centuries old. Amsterdam has almost 100 kilometers or 60 miles of canals, even more than Venice.
The city grew up around Dam Square, where the Amstel River was dammed in the 13th century, giving Amsterdam its name. In Old Dutch, it means dam built across the Amstel.
Over time, land was reclaimed from the sea, ramparts were raised, and canals were dug as part of an ever-evolving cityscape.
The building with flags atop it is the former Scheepvaarthuis, or shipping house. A group of shipping companies ran their businesses from here. This early 20th century building is considered to be the first true example of the Amsterdam school style of architecture. The front of the building is impressively adorned with statues of Neptune, his wife, and 4 figures that represent the points of the compass. The building is decorated inside and out with all kinds of nautical symbols, anchors, ships, and famous Dutch mariners. It's now a 5-star luxury hotel.
Ik ben benieuwd hoeveel feestboten we nog gaan zien deze ronde. Vandaag was en het eindigt nu zo'n beetje de botenparade van de Gay Pride in Amsterdam. We zullen nog een aantal met veel muziek en dansend rondvaren. Yeah, let's see how many boats we will see with loud music, lots of colors and dancing people. Today we had a boat tour of the Amsterdam, of the Gay Pride in Amsterdam. The tour itself already ended, but there will be some boats still sailing around in the city, having a good time. Also viele Leute haben einen schönen Tag heute. Die Boat Tour von der Gay Pride war heute beendet, kurz her. Es wird noch viele Booten in die Grachten geben, mit Leuten, die Spaß haben und tanzen und so.
We're now traveling along what was once the outer defense wall of the city. The original city boundary was to the right, to the left, salt marsh and the North Sea. The red brick tower coming up ahead of us is the medieval Mavelbandstoren. An ideal lookout for sighting potential invaders, it was built to protect the city's shipyards, wharves, and warehouses from attack. From here, Dutch soldiers armed with longbows, crossbows, and early firearms called arquebuses kept watch over the wide expanses below.
The tower's white spire and clocks were added a century later. They were designed by Hendrik de Keyser, an architect whose work can be seen around Amsterdam, and who you're certain to hear more about on this cruise. The clocks couldn't keep time, and the tower's bells rang out randomly, so locals gave it the nickname Silly Jack.
Not long after the spire and clocks were added, the tower began to list to one side. With some effort, it was pulled to rights. You might be wondering why so many buildings in the city tip to one side or the other. The ground in Amsterdam, a mix of peat, sand, and soil, is very soft. Because of this, buildings were generally designed to be as light as possible. None were very tall, and they often had lots of windows. For stability, they were built on a bed of wooden piles driven as deep as 15 meters, that's 45 feet, into the ground. But if these piles were exposed to the air, they began to rot, and the buildings they supported sank and shifted. Today, water levels in and around the city are carefully controlled to minimize rotting. When new piles are needed, they're made of concrete. Still, you'll see many a house with a sideways tilt.
The Mavelbandstoren was a place where sailors gathered before setting out to sea. The journeys were long and difficult, and not everyone returned. Legend has it that the women who loved them also came here to say goodbye, perhaps forever.
We are now on the Oude or Outer Trench Canal. During the 16th century, it served as a defense canal. All the city's canals served one or more of these functions. as a transportation route, a line of defense, or a way to manage water levels. The Odeschans, because of its size and location, did all of these. Because it was one of the only canals wide enough for large ships to sail, and because of its proximity to the harbor, the Odeschans became a convenient place to unload cargo.
No, this one I'm not sharing. This one is yeah, I meant that. Bullying him, I convinced
شما گوش نمیکنید
We're about to pass through one of the city's old blocks. The small, tippy black building was once the lockmaster's house. It's now a pub and cafe full of 17th century charm, stone floors, wooden benches, and exposed ceiling beams. Its outdoor patio is a great place for watching boats on the canal.
اللي ما يجي بجوع حلو اكيد
We're now approaching the Waterloo Place. It's located adjacent to the City Hall, the large red brick building. The original Waterloo Plain was an island built in the 17th century to create a space for Jewish settlers. At the time, it was called Fluyenberg, for Flooding Island. Over time, the name morphed into Fluyenberg, for Flea Island, and the bustling market held here is called the Flea Market.
For centuries, Jewish traders sold their wares here. The market continues to operate and is now known as the largest flea market in the Netherlands.
جوي احسن سياسة احنا بحضر في هاي الحلقة كتير ايوه الشغل المساحة بتحرر كل شيء كده
I did regret
Nu zo'n zwart handschriftje ziet kunt u het eraan openen. Soms is het heel warm door de zon en dan weet je het weer. Dat is het weer van de afgelopen dagen. Where you see a black grip on the window, there you can open the window if you like. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's raining, changing all the time, if you notice. So you're welcome if you like to open a window. Zo, dit venster kan dan even de Noorwoman zwart cyclieten ziet. Dan kan u ook zo wachten. Af en toe dit is dan af en toe.
Ja, ja.
We're now on the Amsterdam River. The round white painted building you see next to the city hall is the Muziek Theater, or music theater. It's home to the Dutch opera, known for its daring production, the Holland Sinfonia, and the world-renowned Dutch National Ballet. The Dutch may be known for their tolerant attitudes, but they also have strong opinions. This piece of architecture was met with heavy protests that have since simmered down. In fact, that's how it got its name, opera. It's derived from the movement against the construction, Stop the Opera.
Otherwise referred to as the famous Skinny Bridge, stretches all the way across the Amstel River. Of Amsterdam's 1,500 or so bridges, this is the most famous. It dates back to the 17th century and was likely a narrow footbridge. Since then, it's been reconstructed more than once and grown wider with age. Legend has it that whoever you kiss while passing under the bridge will be your true love for life.
We're now on Herrengracht, or the Gentleman's Canal. It was part of a careful plan to expand the city. In the early 17th century, a time of tremendous physical and economic growth, 3 new canals were laid out in concentric rings. The Herrengracht was innermost. The Keizersgracht, or Emperor's Canal, was in the middle, followed by the Prinsengracht, or the Prince's Canal.
The wealthiest citizens, shipbuilders, merchants, investors, and politicians built elegant mansions on the Herrengracht. The Keizersgracht was solidly middle class, while the Prinsengracht had a more industrial atmosphere. Of the 3 canals, the Prinsengracht was the only one that connected directly to the harbor, and its low sides were designed for loading and unloading cargo.
And so, the farther you lived from the city center, the lower your social class. Today, this would no longer hold true. All of the city center is expensive.
Ya bu tamirinin evine gitti. Almıyor.
Get your camera ready. We're about to pass by one of the most photographed views in Amsterdam. The 7 arched bridges over Reguliersgracht or Reguliers Canal. This beautiful and unique view of all 7 bridges at once can only be seen from here on waters of the Herengracht. Our kind captain will be slowing down to give everyone a chance to catch a photo of this unique sight.
Je kan het mooie doorkijkje al zien. Het komt langzaam langs alle verschillende ramen. I can see the nice view already. Slowly, everybody can see it. There's a party boat in the middle. So normal days, there are boats as well. So langzaam komt die terugkijken alle mensen voorbij. Ik heb eine Gäste an Bord, die sich nicht so gut fühlt. Wir legen gleich kurz an, aber es spielt dann auch eine Geschichte. Das weiß ich. Erklärung. So, wenn wir anlegen, dann ist das sicher für jemand, der einen aussteigen möchte. Das ist vor das Haus von unserer Bürgermeister. We hebben iemand aan boord die zich niet zo lekker voelt helaas. Hij wil graag uitstappen. Er speelt straks een verhaaltje. Dus ik zet het nu alvast. Ik zou graag even aanleggen voor het huis van de burgemeester. Did I say that in English? I mix it up all the languages. I have somebody on board who doesn't feel that well. Soon there will be a story playing. We have a very brief stop and it will be in front of the house of the mayor of Amsterdam. So you know in that town.
While nobles ruled elsewhere in Europe, here in Amsterdam, it was the self-made merchant. During the 17th century, they were earning as much as 700,000 euros a month. That's more than the average rich person earns today. The wealthiest of the wealthy lived here, on the Herengracht.
Today, almost all of these mansions are used for business, as people can no longer afford to live in them. An exception is the city's mayor, whose official residence is at number 502 Herengracht. Look for the great facade with white columns just before the bridge.
age of the 17th century was a stellar time for Amsterdam. From politics and the economy to arts and science, everything flourished. And the city was now the most important trade center in Europe. There are many reasons for Amsterdam's astounding success. It had the largest and most progressive shipbuilding industry in Europe. Dutch traders sailed farther than anyone else to newly discovered lands in the Far East and to North and South America. They organized into companies like the Dutch East Indian Company and the Dutch West Indian Company. And the profits from trading staples like grain and exotics such as spices, porcelain, precious stones, and textiles were enormous.
Now let's slip back in time to the 17th century. Imagine a colorful scene. Gentlemen in fine clothing on the street, speaking different languages. Elegantly outfitted ladies stepping down into horse-pulled carriages. The clatter of wheels on cobblestones. And dare we mention it? An unpleasant waft of sewage coming from the canal.
Building restrictions limited houses to a width of no more than 6 meters, or 18 feet. But those who could afford got around this by buying 2 adjacent lots and building a double house. Some of these double homes even had 2 different facades. There was no restriction on depth, and with 20 to 40 rooms, a large private garden, and a coach house behind that, mansions often stretched all the way over to the next street.
We're now at the so-called Golden Bend of the Herengracht, the most lavish section of all. Imagine going into one of these sumptuous homes. On the first floor, an elegant entrance hall with marble floors, high ceilings, and chandeliers. Mirrors were strategically positioned to create an illusion of even more space. And single-lot houses would often have a fake door on the side of the entryway to make them appear bigger than they were.
Rooms were richly decorated with painted wallpaper, oil paintings, fine sculptures, and exotics such as Turkish rugs and Persian silks. In the second half of the 17th century, Parisian furniture, Louis XVI style, was very much in vogue.
As a gentleman, you might join your host in a deep-colored smoking room. A lady, your hostess would receive you in a light blue salon or tea room. Here, you'd sip imported tea from China while looking out over a beautifully manicured garden. No one ever sat in the garden. It'd ruin their fashionable white skin. Musical concerts and grand parties were common, and each house had many rooms dedicated to entertaining. For a first-hand glimpse of life inside an opulent canal house, there are 2 wonderful museums in the area, the Hilvinkenlopenhaus and the Wilhelmshausen.
Ja, omdat we tijdens het verhaaltje hebben aangelegd, is er nog een stukje gracht over zonder verhaal. Hier rechts kunt u goed zien hoe auto's tegengehouden worden door die lage reling, zodat ze de gracht niet inrijden. Later zullen we ook auto's parallel geparkeerd zien langs de grachten. Voordat die reling er was, yeah, since we had a brief stop during the last story, there is a little bit of canal left without a story. The story played during our stop. Here in the Gentleman's Canal, you also can see the railing that you can see on a lot of canals, especially developed to prevent cars from driving into the water. Before we had this railing, you can imagine a lot of cars ended up into the water. On other canals you can also see cars parallel parked to the water. Zo, die reden, ja, hier voor die auto gibt een speciaal een klein stuk. Die zorgt dafür, dass Autos nicht in die Kraft. Und später in die Verbindungskrachten werden wir auch Autos sehen, die knapp neben die Kraft geparkt sind.
Wären wir lieber into the bar gegangen mit so kalten, weil wir sind abgeschlossen.
Diciamo orando. Zofkat. John.
Ja, eigentlich cool. Richtig auf Norden.
خواستم اونا که سیکون خاص آقای و جای طول قیمتی دارتن میر که وزیزی جراز بگیده نمیدن بسیار کنایست
The Dutch are known for leaving their curtains open, as if to say they have nothing to hide. This is especially noticeable at night, when many of the canal houses are lit up from the inside. To experience another side of Amsterdam, consider taking an evening cruise. You can choose from several options, including our tasty pizza cruise. Ask our staff for more information.
Weil wir spielen das nicht mal die Werten, weil das alles
This is the Keizersgracht, or Emperor's Canal, named after the Austrian Emperor Maximilian. Of the three main canals dug during the city's expansion, the Keizersgracht is the widest. To orient yourself, picture the Herrengracht, or Gentleman's Canal, to our right, and the Prinsengracht, or Princess Canal, to our left. There are many coach houses on the right. They belong to the mansions over on the Herrengracht. Their large doors, big enough for a horse and carriage, make them easy to spot.
If you visited this neighborhood 400 years ago, the streets would have been overrun with poor working class people. You'd have to step around open sewers, steel yourself against the nasty smells of dead animals and the tanning business that hung heavy in the air. Many tanneries set up shop here, and some of the street names reflect this animal-based industry. You can find a bear street, a deer street, and even a skin street. In general, though, it was the cow, and sometimes the goat or hare, whose skins were tanned, and these were used to make shoes, saddles, and many other items. Today, you get to experience something very different. The streets are now lined with cute little shops and fancy restaurants, and the air is fresh and appealing.
As we pass by these richly decorated canal houses, there's so much to notice. So many flourishes and details, ornate door cases, sculptures, and of course the decorative gables at the roofline.
There are several different types of gables, and over the decades, they've gone in and out of fashion. See if you can spot them all. The oldest type is the spout gable. This basic triangular shape is seen only on warehouses. The 17th century step gable looks just as you'd expect, a series of steps. The neck gable, with its straight up and down sides and scrollwork decorations, came a bit later, followed by the bell gable, which has a more rounded, bell-like shape. By the 18th century, the cornice, a flat-top gable, was most popular.
There's one thing that all gables have in common: the hoisting beams. Staircases were so narrow and steep that furniture and goods were lifted to the upper floors via the hoisting beam, along with a good strong rope, a hook, and a pulley. Goods were generally stored up high to keep them dry during the city's frequent floods. There's a strong tradition of moving things this way, as even newly constructed houses have narrow stairways and are still equipped with hoisting beams.
سرمایه‌دار از اون چی میخواد
The church was built in the 17th century and is the largest Protestant church of the Netherlands. Hendrik de Keyser, the city's architect, designed it in Dutch Renaissance style. He died before the tower, which was made of stone and brick, was finished. The tower proved to be too heavy for the supports it was built on, which were thought to be of second-hand wood, and it started to lean. When de Keyser's two sons took over the project, they decided to finish it with a lighter building material, wood. At the top of the tower is a blue crown, a gift from the Emperor Maximilian I of Austria to the city for its coat of arms.
One last thing about the Westerkerk. This was where the famous artist Rembrandt was buried, in an unmarked grave.
Zwei sagen und dann
احتیاج یا باران دارم باریک باریک فرو نگی دست
Now that there are house numbers, look for Keizersgracht number 123, also known as the House with the Heads. This beautiful Amsterdam Renaissance-style building of brick and sandstone is decorated with 6 beautifully sculpted heads. They're said to represent the Greek gods Apollo, Mars, Ceres, Minerva, Bacchus, and Diana. But legend has it that they symbolize the 6 thieves who once tried to break into the house. They were beheaded by a brave servant.
Yeah, you are worth 740. Hey, Okay, yeah, then we were saying. Yes.
지금 어디다 가는 중인지.
Today, the city's many canals are still used for transportation and for managing water levels. And they also have a new function as a place to live. Amsterdam always seems to be short on housing, and during a real crunch in the 1960s and 70s, houseboats appeared as cheap places to live. The city now has around 2,500 of them. Some are old converted sailing vessels. Others are simply homes set on floating pads. As for cheap, not anymore. Houseboats are now connected to gas, water, electricity, and municipal sewage. And owners have to pay taxes just like anyone else.
Nur in Deutschland ist kein Problem. Das hatten wir in Budapest
We are now approaching Brouwersgracht, or the Brewers Canal. This canal was part of the city's 17th century expansion. It connects the three main canals, the Herengracht, the Keizersgracht, and the Prinsengracht, and used to form the northwest border of the city. With its arched bridges, many houseboats, and beautiful architecture, it's now one of the most picturesque waterways in the city.
But that wasn't always the case. Many of the industries banned from residential areas ended up here. That included the smelly ones, like leather and whale oil processing. And of course, beer brewing, which gave the Brewers Canal its name. Because water quality was so poor, people turned to beer as a safer, healthier drink. Only the rich could afford wine, which was imported, but everyone drank beer.
Many of the buildings you see are old workshops and factories, or warehouses. Merchants originally stored goods in their houses, but as trade increased, more and more warehouses were built. See these spots? Look for triangular spout gables and windows with wooden shutters. The shutters help keep goods dry and dark.
Back in the 17th century, when Brouwersgracht was at the edge of the city, ships sailing for the Dutch East Indian Trading Company would come here to unload silks and spices from the Far East. And for a time, the Dutch West Indian Trading Company had an office along this canal. This powerful company traded in sugar, tobacco, tropical wood, furs and ivory, and had a monopoly on trade with the West Indies. Its ships also transported slaves from Africa to the Americas. An interesting side note, even though some of Amsterdam's merchants traded in slaves, they were never employed in Dutch households.
Aside from the East Indian and West Indian trading companies, the Noordse or Hollandse Bond was a third powerful company. It specialized in whaling, processing the meat as well as the whale oil, which in turn was used for lamp oil, soap, and paint, all very profitable products.
Today, the harbor bustle has moved elsewhere. Most of these historic buildings have been converted into trendy apartments. The atmosphere is much quieter and more pleasant. And luckily, the canal water is much cleaner than it used to be. It's now filled with a number of creatures, including fish and crabs. Several types of water birds are also happy to make these waters their home.
The Dutch have a passion for sports. Whether it's playing a friendly game of soccer or cheering for favorite athletes during a sporting event, we do it with enthusiasm.
Children are encouraged to hone their sports skills both in and out of school. Many secondary schools have state-of-the-art sports facilities, and some academic programs are even specifically designed for gifted athletes. With opportunities like these, it's no wonder that Dutch athletes tend to do very well in international sports competitions. For many years now, the Netherlands national soccer team is ranked among the 10 best in the world.
The Dutch have also won many Olympic medals, especially in long track speed skiing, where we regularly outperform all other nations.
We are now on the Sigel, passing through locks that were originally built to regulate Amsterdam's water levels and to keep the city from flooding at high tide. Nowadays, locks and dams further out have closed Amsterdam's harbor off from the North Sea. and city residents don't have to worry about tides. Instead, the locks are used to flush water through the canals, keeping them clean. Amsterdam replaces the gate every 50 years or so. If you look closely, you might find the date these gates were last replaced. It's recorded on the gates themselves. And no talk about transportation in Amsterdam would be complete without mentioning bicycles. You've probably figured out this is Amsterdamers' favorite mode of transport. All around Central Station are places to park, from a huge multi-level bike parking area to a converted ferry filled to capacity with bikes. More people bike than drive to work, and it's estimated that the city has around 1.6 million bikes. That's more bikes than people. In typical Dutch style, the bikes are very practical. Single-speed toasters with foot brakes. Sometimes with a braided part for carrying everything under the sun, including children. In Amsterdam, expect to see everyone from the sophisticated business executive to the harried mother of three, pumping away on a two-wheeler.
Central Station, the transportation hub of Amsterdam, is built on 3 artificial islands and is supported by around 8,600 wooden piles. The building was designed by 2 architects, Kuipers and Van Gent, and its front is really quite amazing. Made of red brick and white accents, it's a combination of Neo-Renaissance style and Neo-Gothic towers, and is called eclectical architecture.
Ja mam bonowsies, sarawalsies.
Coming full circle, we're now approaching Damla, the original mouth of the Amstel, and nearing the end of our cruise. It's here where the Amstel once met the end that a few peasants with dreams of building a future spawned this great city. Clearly, their ingenuity and hard work have paid off. That first dam across the river started a series of events that's led to the incredibly unique and picturesque Amsterdam we're able to enjoy today.
Gebouwd was het een stuk stiller dan op menig andere gebied. We zijn er weer bijna, dus speelt straks nog een muziekje. Hopelijk hadden jullie een leuke vaart. Blijft u alsjeblieft heel even zitten totdat we veilig vast liggen. Veel plezier nog in Amsterdam. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the tour. There were boats that made more noise than we did. I'd like to wish you a good evening. I have to moor the boat. Please stay seated for a little bit till we are moored safely. Have a good time. Dus het is vanaf nog in Amsterdam. Dank u wel, zeer gerne. Is weer zeker aangelegd hebben. We gaan nog veel spaas in Amsterdam. Dat je echt kunnen uitvoeren. Stop, come on. Ja.